Welcome to Pensari Basketball. My name is Robert, and today we're going to be talking about a little message that Toronto Raptors rookie Scottie Barnes had for Raptor fans and Canadian fans in general. So grab a coffee and let's get going. If you've been following Scottie throughout the year, you've had a blast because this is just a very transparent, very honest player who's just sharing his observations and his experiences of being an NBA rookie. We really haven't had this opportunity with other Raptor rookies, notable rookies in the past. Social media wasn't really that huge when DeMar was a rookie. It really definitely was non-existent when Vince was a rookie. So this has kind of been the first time that we've actually been able to observe the day-to-day life of being an NBA rookie through the eyes of one of the best rookies in Raptor history. And one thing that you pick up with Scottie really quickly is that he is fiercely protective and very loyal. So if you want to talk mess about West Palm Beach to Scottie Barnes, you're going to get an earful. The first time I noticed this about Scottie was when I was watching a Montverde game, and there was a fight that broke out between one of his teammates and another player on the other team, and he was just the first person there to just stop it. And I think if you're really paying attention to who Scottie Barnes is as a human being, you've pretty much noticed this at every step of the way. Does not shy away. He stands up for his family, he stands up for his city, and he stands up for his team. So when Raptor fans were going at Jalen Suggs, myself included, I apologize, Scottie, it was Scottie Barnes who came to Jalen Suggs' rescue saying that they were brothers. This is not a guy who takes loyalty lying down. He takes it very seriously. So I wasn't surprised when Jake Fisher started all those rumors about OG Anunoby potentially being on the trading block that Scottie Barnes was the only Raptor really to respond to that. He was very angry at Jake Fisher. So color me surprised when Chris Brossard talks all this mess about Toronto, Canada, black athletes, etc. And I wonder what Scottie's going to have to say about this, because he has he has Kevin Durant thing, or call it rabbit ears, and he just pays attention to a lot of this stuff. And I kind of wish he doesn't, but in a way it's really entertaining that he does. And I was wondering how he's going to respond to it. Is he going to go on ESPN and talk about it? Like Vince Carter did, like Tracy McGrady has, right? There's a lot of athletes who've come and responded to this and said how it's just a bunch of hogwash and total nonsense. Was he going to be on Instagram and leave one of his cryptic comments? Like he responded to his own trade rumors for Kevin Durant by saying, that he knew that he wasn't on the table. No, he wasn't going to do that. Scottie Barnes decided to respond to Chris Brossard in probably the best way that an athlete could. Because if you're not paying attention, I'm pretty sure you missed it. So Scottie Barnes this offseason has been everywhere. He took a vacation and he was down in Florida getting some work in, getting some home cooking. Then he was up in Toronto working out with OG and Pascal. And, he was attending CEBL games, which, may I just say, is really interesting, right? Because we saw all the Canadians show up for the CEBL launch, right? We saw all the Canadians there for J. Cole and Jalen Harris, right? We saw Lou Dort, we saw Chris Boucher, we saw Delano Banton, Drake, but Scottie Barnes is not Canadian. So I thought it was really interesting that he would decide to show up. And then he was obviously down in Las Vegas, right? He was working out with the Raptors. The entire team was down there with the exception, I think, of Thad Young. And then seemingly right around when this Chris Brossard stuff broke, Scottie Barnes decides with his high school buddies from Montverde to book a vacation. Where did he go? Did he go to Cabo? Did he go to Paris? Did he go to Rome? Did he go to Japan? This is a multi-millionaire 20-year-old. He can go anywhere he wants. But where does he decide to go? He decides to go to Montreal. Which ironically is a place, where Chris Boucher and Kem Birch are from, right? Which I thought was really interesting, getting to know a place where two of your teammates are from, but also happens to be in Canada, right? And it's not Toronto, right? Montreal is different. There are a lot of athletes, a lot of American athletes who've been to Toronto and understand that Toronto is this really fantastic place, but they've never really been outside of Toronto here, right? They haven't really visited the burbs. They haven't really visited the outskirts of Ontario, and they definitely have not been to Quebec. And I thought that it was so cool that he would spend this time and he'd go to this party, and it, you see the pictures and you're like, where is he? Where is he? Is he in the Bahamas? Is he in the Galapagos? Where is he? This super tropical place that he's posting pictures of with all his buddies. And where is it? It's Canada. It's Montreal. And I thought that was just the most poetic and perfect way to respond to Chris Broussard's comments, because I, as an American who's covered this league for a bit and have talked to quite a few athletes, you know, from Croatia, from America, from all over the world about their thoughts about playing in Toronto. And I have always found that there were a few people in the media who always ran with this narrative that existed in the early 2000s about Canada. And look, I want to say this as a person who came to Canada from the United States, that these comments are not wrong, okay? These comments are not untrue. Back then, they were true. Anyone who tells you they weren't true is lying to you. If you live in the United States, as I did, you grew up watching basketball, you grew up watching American football. These are not the biggest sports here, right? Hockey is the biggest sport. If you grew up on ESPN. You grew up, like, even if you, especially, by the way, if you grew up in the inner city, you definitely understand that there's a very big difference between being in, you know, in like a black inner city in Nashville or in Baltimore versus being in Rexdale or Scarborough here. It's different. It's just different. It's totally different. But I want to say that over the past 20 years, a lot of shit has changed, right? Basketball has grown huge, right? The demographics of the city have grown incredibly. Raptors, you know, have had a huge impact on how Toronto not only is viewed, but how Toronto views itself, how Toronto operates. This is a beautiful place for African American athletes. I think that the first impression was wrong. In 1996, 1997, oh, I get you. Living in the United States and coming here and then seeing all these people who don't really understand basketball in the stands rooting for you, it's weird. I don't blame any athlete in 95, 96, 97, 2001 for feeling that this was a different place for them. But through the contributions of guys like Vince Carter, right, all those charity games that he gets no credit for now, through the contributions of guys like DeMar DeRozan, right, Kyle Lowry, there's a lot of guys who've come here and really embraced this place. But what really hasn't happened is a star athlete who was a top 5 player in the NBA who came here and stayed. And I think that this city, and Masai Ujiri alluded to it when Kawhi left, he said, we now have a proof of concept. We now have proof that this country, this city presents a beautiful opportunity for a superstar. And we saw it. Kawhi rose to prominence in a way that I haven't seen any athlete. Like Kawhi the year before he came to Toronto and Kawhi in Toronto, it's a completely different game. He immediately went from potentially washed, you know, total head case, doesn't care about basketball, to potentially the next Michael Jordan in a year. And honestly, he didn't have a career year. He had a better year the next year with the Clippers. But I don't remember hearing about Kawhi being the best player in the NBA with the Clippers. So I think that this city, this country presents an excellent opportunity. I agree with Masai Ujiri that for a top 5 player, whether it be Kawhi who left or Giannis who didn't come or Scottie who hasn't quite gotten there yet, there's some athlete someday who's going to become a top 5, top 6 player in the league as a Raptor. And I will guarantee you that apart from New York, specifically the Knicks, not the Nets, but specifically the Knicks or Los Angeles, Toronto is the best place for a superstar to grow their brand. And I am just so happy that Scottie Barnes seems to understand that, because what he's doing right now by going to CEBL games, by posting I love Montreal, by defending his team, by just being the type of person that he is the perfect match between a fan base and an athlete. This is a city that hates soft players. This is why they still can't get over Vince, because they feel like he faked injuries and they can't forgive him for that. This is a city that's starving for a superstar that embraces them. This is a country that is just ready to explode for a perennial contender. And this is just, to be honest, this is why you don't trade Scottie Barnes, because you are on the cusp of something that is about to explode here. I'm not waxing poetic. I hope that you don't think that I'm this is rhetoric. It's not bullshit, right? If he becomes that, and he is still ways away from being a top 5, top 6 player in the NBA, but if he ever gets there, as a Raptor, given the type of person that he is, the warm, embracing, open-minded, fluid athlete that he is, just like this big smile, if he keeps that part of him alive and becomes a top 5 player in this country, I don't think you're ever going to see a market embrace an athlete the way this market will be willing to embrace Scottie Barnes. And at that point, I would love to hear what Chris Brossard has to say about how awkward it is for African Americans to be in Canada. Well, my name is Robert, and today we're going to be talking about a little message that for Toronto Raptor fans and Canadian fans in general. Canadian.